Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda Mae and I am a cross stitch designer and cross stitch enthusiast here on YouTube and I guess in a lot of different social media spots. I am passionate about cross stitch. It has been my special interest now for 8 years. So goodness, going on a decade, and I don't see my enthusiasm wavering anytime soon. I absolutely love counted cross stitch. It is my passion. I love to do it for fun, and I also do it professionally under the business Ardith Design. So if you are new here, I'm so happy you found me, and if you're returning, I am so grateful that you came back to talk cross stitch with me this week. So today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. I am filming at home in my office, and I just returned from Timonium, where the Maryland State Fair is held. I went and picked up all of my fair entries. So I was an exhibitor this year for, I want to say this was my 3rd or 4th year participating in the fair. I was encouraged and motivated to do so by other cross stitchers in our community who film YouTube videos and show their fair entries. I had never heard about fair stuff. I had no concept that you could even enter something into a fair. So talk about the power of social media. Now I love entering things in the fair, want to spread the word about it. I am going to be putting up my fair video, the tour of the exhibit for needlework, needlepoint, cross stitch, embroidery. I'm going to put up that video in another episode. And there will also be some clips of the quilting category, that division. I entered the quilting category for the first time this year, so that was super fun. And I also entered the home arts category for the first time this year, so I'll show you my entries. I had everything in a laundry basket. I've taken it out of the laundry basket. I have everything set up here, and I'm just going to show you what I entered. So the best part about entering in the fair, it's not the prize money. It's not any of that. It keeps me accountable. It makes me finish my work. So I am a process stitcher. I love, for my own enjoyment, I love stitching. Once I'm done stitching, it goes in my under the bed box. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't need to fully finish it. Professionally, I love the process, but I also love fully finishing it and showing all the different creative ways that you can finish cross stitch. That's budget friendly, fun, maybe a little unconventional, a little quirky. I love to fully finish my work. And so there's both sides. The fair forces me to be accountable because if I want to enter, that means everything has to be fully finished. So I fully finished all of my pieces. I did not get anything professionally framed. The judges made remarks about my framework and how it needs improvement. So I will stress that I am not a professional finisher. If you are looking for a finisher, there are some amazing folks out there, men, women, people out in our community that do amazing finishing. I was inspired to do a lot of my finishing from Vonna Pfeiffer of the Twisted Stitcher and her Flosstube videos. I started watching 5-6 years ago. She has a wealth of knowledge, and since then she's been a springboard for several other finishers in our community to fully finish things. I'm getting a phone call. No thank you. Sorry about that. So I will say while I am a professional cross stitch designer, I am not a professional finisher. So hopefully that will give you some encouragement too, that you can fully finish things as well if you so choose. So the fair, it spreads the word about our work. More and more people are coming into cross stitch since 2020. There are a lot of people who are finding this joyous activity, and there's just so many new people in cross stitch. I am one of them. I've been stitching for less than a decade. I still consider myself new to cross stitch. There are some amazing floss tubers out there and people who have been cross stitching since the 1970s, 1980s. Okay, so I am new in longevity terms to cross stitch, but there are even people newer, since 2020 and beyond. I saw some amazing work. There was like the Baby Yoda, the Grogu stuff, dragons, some really awesome pieces, and pop culture references. I mean, there's just so much that you can do. So with that, I'm going to show you my stuff in no particular order. If I've forgotten something about the threads, the floss, the pattern designer, if you want to check back to my other Flosstube episodes, I have talked about my fair prep, and you can go back and refer to those. I purchased all of these kits or the cross stitch myself, whether I got them at a cross stitch store or I bought them on the secondary market or like eBay, or I got them like at a thrift store. Like I got a Mill Hill bead kit from a thrift store and I fully finished that. So we're going to grab, I'm going to show you, I'm going to stop talking and it'll be great. All right. Oh my gosh. I'll start here. All right. So this was one of my, entries, my first entry, and I tried an unconventional cross stitch finish. I put it on this board thingy I got at the thrift store, and I had pinned this, and you could see the pins coming through the architectural elements, and I'm like, I don't like that, and I'm like, oh, pom-poms! So I decided to put pom-poms all around it. It was a risk that I took. It's unconventional. It's kind of kitschy, wonky. I'm not sure the right word for it, but I love it. So that's what I did. This is out of the new book by Max Pigeon, cross stitch. I'm gonna grab my book out and show you real fast. If you are not familiar, Max Pigeon is the designer for Pigeon Coop Designs. Literally, I have his publisher sent me this book. Thank you so much. I did a flip through this. You can find my flip through in one of my previous episodes, and I also have a flip through on the Amazon page for this listing, and I'll have the affiliate link below if you are interested. So I did a flip through of this, and my two projects that I absolutely loved was the Snow Queen in the book, Snow Queen. And so this is my take on Snow Queen. And then I will show you, since I have it right here, my other favorite is the Winter Walk, and it's like the brown bear, the brown grizzly bear. There's a fun fact in here about it. Grizzlies and other species of bears do not hibernate. While true hibernators such as marmots will enter into a deep sleep, bears spend the cooler months in a state called torpor, T-O-R-P-O-R, where their metabolism slows down to save energy, but they can still wake up quickly or react to noise and touch. So, fun fact that I learned thanks to Max. So thanks, Max. So I went ahead and I finished this. I actually finished this last night, so it is not ironed. And it's ready, so I could enter this in the fair for 2025. So here is my finish. So I went ahead and I changed the colors. I didn't do any of the called for colors. I pulled from my stash the fabric I got on 1-2-3 Stitch, and it's a 16 count Jade Ada fabric. Jade Ada. Picture this plus. And I grabbed just some of my flosses, and I took this with me to Wisconsin and Minnesota last month. I stitched this on the plane, and then I stitched some more like during my kids' extracurricular activities. It's like my car stitching project, basically. So these are the colors that I did. Color and Cotton Cilantro, Goblin, Sugar Maple, a limited edition Gentle Arts, Hot Cocoa by Color and Cotton, Good Cheer, Memorial, it's like a white blue, and then Gentle Art limited edition, it's like a black color. So those are the colors that I used on the 16 count Ada. I used 2 embroidery threads over 1 Ada box, and then it is charted to do on a white Ada. And what I went ahead and did instead is I chose this green color, And then see where there's the white here on the trees and the white on the bear? That's actually like negative space. There's no stitches there. And then the white from the Ada shows through. Well, doing it on the green, it didn't look right. So I went ahead and added the white stitches in for snow. And then up here, there's light blue. The light blue for the snow here at the bear's feet are also the snowflakes falling here. And I went ahead and decided to add some beads there. So I added beads. I'm going to show you the back side of this. I decided to put my beads down, and you can see I carried my thread a bunch. I used the Sulky Poly Sparkle, and I chose it because it fits on my beading needle. So I used this Poly Sparkle. It's 0525 Poly Sparkle. It's a 30 weight metallic thread. And then I used my Mill Hill beads, and I actually got these at a thrift store. And it was the 60479 Mill Hill beads. And so I chose this Poly Sparkle because it was close enough to that fabric, and I put that in. And what my modification that I did, besides the color and adding snow and adding beads, I know, 3 different modifications, is I went ahead and I added extra beads up here along the perimeter line of the chart so that it's like it's framed out really nicely, and then I can decide what to do from here. So I stitched all of this in hand, and then at the very end I put it on my Nurge, N-U-R-G-E. I'll have my affiliate link below for that embroidery hoop. I used the small pink one. I got it on Amazon after hearing about Nurge, and I love the Nurge. They're like the hoops that you use for punch needle embroidery that like really secure your work in, and I love it. Sharon from Cape May and her store Stitch by Stitch, she turned me on to the Nurge hoops, and she also carries them in her shop. And I really like them for like finishing work. So here, the rules for the fair is that it has to be completed between August to August, or so I finished this in September, so it qualifies for next year. So what I'm going to start doing is with all my finishes, if I don't fully finish them right away, I'm going to set them aside in a basket, in a bag, and then all my finishes from that year I know qualify for the fair so I can submit for next year. So that's something to think about. And you can also look at your rules and regs in your town, your community. If you have a county fair or a state fair, you can look and see some. I know I've heard some fairs, it's like a finish within 3 years. Some fairs, it's a finish within 1 year. So just look at your regs. So where I live, the county that I live in, Maryland, the county fair does not offer a cross stitch exhibit. So the only way that I can show is at the state level. So that's just something to think about. So I pulled that out to show you my project because I entered this one as soon as I saw that project in the book. Oh my gosh, I'm knocking everything over. It's the ribbons getting caught and everything. As soon as I saw it, I immediately started stitching it. So this is my finish. I got an honorable mention, which was nice of them. And I entered it into the category of the theme of N. And I wrote night owl for N, night owl. And the note was a wonderful cross stitch, but the pom-pom take away from your beautiful work, which is fair. It is pretty ostentatious, but I can be a bit ostentatious, and I've been told I'm a bit much. So I feel like my finishing fully reflects me, and I'm okay with that. So that's my first one, and we shall move her. I'll put her over here. Maybe not. Okay, I'll grab this one next. All right, and then I entered this into the category of Stitcher's Accessory, any item. This was, it's called Freedom Fob. I know I have notes on it in my other episode, and I got this, it's called a humbug finish. I have never done a humbug finish before, and that's where you sew it in the, but instead of making it like a rectangle pillow, you fold one side one way and one side the other way. So if I would have put this section, closed it this way, it would have been a little rectangle, but because this side is one way, this side is the other, that's called a humbug, right? The more you know. So I stitched this with all the called for colors, everything that was in that little kit that I got on eBay, but I did change and I put a star here, and because I made a mess up and I do not like to frog. So if I can go with it and like modify and still make my stitch work, I will. So I had stitched this way too far over, so I just put the star here, which was fine. And then it had all these cute little stitches, and then I finished it just as the directions called for. And then I had these scissors already, and then I went ahead and made, and I used my beading. I used my beading tools. So I have this one, and then I have one that's got like the roundy, so you can like mold the jewelry pieces. I used those, and then I got the little chain thingies, and I attached the buttons and the charms. I had a charm left over from another project I put, and then the beads. So I added the beads to that, and then now I can put it down. So I will take now that I've shown you, I'll take that off here, and then I'll put it right here. I have one of those milk glass sherbet holders. And I put my scissors there. So there's another project finish. Again, I don't care about the ribbons. I don't care about the prize money. I am so happy to show my work, to have it fully finished, and maybe I inspire someone else to start cross stitch, or maybe they love the thing and they decide to do like a Google Lens where they take a picture of my work and then they're like, where can I find that pattern? And then they go buy the pattern themselves and stitch it. That is what I'm all about. Like, I want to share the joy of cross stitch. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, side note before I show you more cross stitch. I literally stitch, I put on my noise canceling headphones in public and I sit and stitch, and like people come up and talk to me and they're like, oh, my mom did that, or why don't you use an embroidery hoop, or they ask questions, and I'm like, do you want to learn? I will show you right now how to cross stitch. And the people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, I will teach you. Come join us. I'm one of those people. All right, moving forward. I entered this one in the category of Christmas, any Christmas toy or ornament, and it could be anything in the embroidery, needlepoint, punch needle, any of that category. They have the same one for next year as well, and it's 1st through 6th place. It's the only, where did I put my papers? It's the only category in the needlework thing where they give a 6th place ribbon. It's the special one. Stitch a Christmas ornament or holiday toy that includes some form of embroidery, stitchery, counted thread, cross stitch, crewel, etc. And so I submitted this. This was from one of the collections of Cross Stitch magazine. I want to say out of the UK. I stitched it on a opalescent even weave, and then I finished it with just some polyester felt, not wool felt. And then I added just like a velvet bow, and then I stitched down the corners. I just whip stitched it using that poly sparkle thread and put it down. And I want to show you. So I got this at one of the discount stores. It's called Ollie's, and it's like this big. So I've been using this for a lot of projects. It's not wool, but it's really easy to sew down and tack down, and I really enjoy it. So I recommend, if you need to just do a quick finish or something and you don't have wool, just go get a piece of felt at Michael's. It's fine. Okay, I showed you that and that. Oh, I didn't show you. Okay, so that was my back. This was my little penguins. I had no note from the judges, but I did get 6th place, which was awesome. There were a lot of entries into this category. So thank you so much for the 6th place. The next I will show you is this one. I'm really excited about this one. My gourds, oh my gourd. I got these in a bag for $3.49 at Goodwill. And like, these little gourds are so cute, but I don't have them tacked down to show you the stitching, so I have to move them. I got the idea to finish this from another cross stitcher using this type of, doing this type of finish. I hot glued the trim up here down, and then I attached my stitch down in the tray. I got this chart at Stitch by Stitch Cape May. It's a like turkey leg. It's called, I think, Thanksgiving gingham, because it was originally, the model is stitched on gingham fabric. I stitched mine on just like a regular linen with 2 threads over 2 linen squares, and I did a mishmash of DMC. I grabbed some DMC off the grab table at the retreat, and that's how I did it. And then I finished it again with that felt on the back, and then I attached it. I sewed just pearl cotton through, and then just tied it in a bow so that I can take this off if I need to. And then the edging I finished with Rip Crack. So I attached it in 3 different places. And that is my Harvest sampler. I love this. I'm so happy with my finish. And it says nice display, tough competition. I got 4th place, and I entered it in the samplers, mostly cross stitch, bigger than 8 by 10 inches. And I think, or less than 8 by 10. I'm sorry, less than 8 by 10. So smaller than 8 by 10 inches. And so then there were so many amazing samplers. So many good people, like so much good stuff. So again, very happy with that. Gotta move my gourds here. I love a good gourd. I mean, it's like decorative gourd season now. I'm so excited. The leaves are starting to turn. And I said to the kids, the weather outside, it's crisp. It's crisp. And they're like, Mom, what does crisp mean? And I explained it. They're like, ooh, I like that. I want to use that word more. I'm like, yes. Add it to your lexicon. And they're like, what's lexicon? I'm like, just get on the bus. Like, I'm sorry. Okay. The next one is perforated paper. Any item of perforated paper. In retrospect, I should have made this into an ornament or a brooch, but I just finished it on a little piece of wool, and then I stitched down, and this is it. This is the Mill Hill kit. It's like one of the trees. I attached the bead. I used a piece of wool from a Weeks Dye Works charm pack that I won from the Just Cross Stitch magazine 2019 ornament contest issue. So I had some wool from that. That's what I used on the back. And the perforated paper, and I cut the paper. I followed the model because this is my first ever perforated paper finish, and cut it based on the Mill Hill model on that bead pack. So I'm so happy with that. So I don't know if I'm probably going to turn it into an ornament. We'll see. All right, where do I put my notes? There we go. All right, the next one is cross stitch under 4 by 4 inches. So this is my finish. It's the I Believe. It's by Bent Creek. I finished it on a piece of wool that I got from Primitive Homespun and Needlework in Frederick, Maryland. Kathy is the owner. She's amazing. Her family is amazing. Highly recommend. I did, again, a piece of that polyester felt on the back. I stitched it down to the wool, and then I stitched the wool and the backing together. I used a variegated green Wonderful pearl cotton thread. My only complaint was because of the variegation. When I started the thread again here, you can like really see I started the thread there again. But all in all, I'm happy with this. I got 3rd place. and the judge wrote tough competition. No problem. It was my 4x4. This came as a kit with the pearl cotton and the bead, the button, all from Bent Creek. I love Bent Creek kits. Love them. Speaking of that, do I have another? I have a Bent Creek to show you. Yeah, I have another one to show you. All right. We'll talk about this in a minute. No, we'll talk about it now. All right. Here is my mini quilt. It is my first ever entry into the quilt category for the fair. The mini quilt was the very first that they've offered at the fair. The theme was sweet treats, and so there were other entries that did sweet treat themes. So cute. I will have that video up in another episode. I'll show a quick walkthrough of the quilts. What I did is I printed, I did the image, I printed it on this napkin here with the printable vinyl. I ironed it on, I cut it out, and then I sewed it like I would any other piece of fabric. This is a remnant from the fabric I cut. I went ahead and accented it later and stitched it down because it was a vintage scalloped napkin that had been stained, and so I used it, but I liked the scalloped edge. These are quilters cottons that I got at Patches, the quilt store, my local quilt store. And then I used the back. It's a vintage tea towel, and I left it like this because the requirement, where did I put it? Oh, you all know what paint sticks, here they are, paint sticks. The requirement was you had to have a quilt where you had the back for the quilt for the paint stick to go, and it has to be 8 inches by either 10 to 12 inches long, but they were very firm on it being 8 inches across. So this is what I did. I did not get a medal or a ribbon. I didn't place it all, but they were nice. I got an attachment with my entry that said that my piecework was nice, but my finishing could be better, like my binding. Totally understand and agree. And I'm looking forward to working on my skills more in submitting something next year. The theme for next year is quilters, and the mini quilt rules for next year, and it is quilts. It's quilters have other hobbies. So like if you're a quilter but you also like to fish, you could do a fish quilt. Or for me, you know, I love to paint. I love horses, you know, so I could do like a painting themed quilt or a horse themed quilt. But it has to be a quilt. Like I can't say, oh, I love to crochet and then just make a mini crochet. Like it has to actually be a quilt, but you could feature a piece of crochet on your quilt, but it couldn't just be a piece of crochet that you entered, if that makes sense. So quilters have other hobbies. So it'll be interesting to see what other people do in that category if I decide to enter it, or I might just go and marvel at all the beauty. So we'll see what happens. So that was my quilt. Here is my finish. I used scrapbook paper on the back, and the rule is you have to have it with this type of hardware. You can't have the sawtooth hangers. So this frame I got at a thrift store. This is Hello from Liz Matthews design, and I omitted the border and just focused on the center motif, and I finished this myself. I did lace it, but once I put it in the frame, it like kind of looks a little wonky, which I was actually very upset about because I laced this thoroughly. My only thought was, yes, this is not a frame meant for cross stitch. It's meant for paper and glass. And also, the fabric that I stitched this on was the old Weeks fabric before they changed their base linen. It's the really floppy one, so even when I pulled it really tight, it still was off. So knowing that this wasn't perfect framing, the judges also told me, nice consistent work. When framing, be sure that it is on grain, like up and down, which I thought I had it all on grain, but it's looking off. Again, I'm not a professional framer. So I got 4th place. That's fine. Very happy. And the category was under 15 by 18 in water or the bay, like something nautical. So that was the category. My next finish that I entered also was a cross stitch, not a cross stitch, I'm sorry. Also a thrift store frame, and I used scrapbook paper on the back, put the hanger, and this is my finish here. And this is a piece, this is Blackbird Designs. It's out of their book, Souvenirs of Summer. And I stitched it with mostly the called for threads. And I used 2 threads over 2 linen strands. And I did omit all of the A's and the B's for Alma and Barb. I did not put the year. So those are the modifications that I did. And I got fourth place, and it was under the cross stitch Patriotic theme category, under 20 by 30. And the note was well stitched, framing could have been improved, and then good embroidery. Yeah, framing could have been improved. I used a cross stitch, or I used a thrift store frame that had a couple nicks on it. And the base that I laced this on, it should have been like a black matte board rather than a white matte board. So that was my other, I agree with them. It could be better. My next piece, oh, this one's so cute. This is my this is my finish from the Stacy Nash, her animal cracker series. I got this cute little wheelbarrow at the thrift store in the wood section. I didn't paint it, I left it just as is, and I finished the bunny just as she instructed to in her finishing directions. I got the kit that came with the fabric for the bunny, the threads, and the carrots. That all came in a kit that I got at Country Sampler in Wisconsin. And then I decided to make a little base. I made a little quilted base using a scrap of my like metallic batik. And then I stitched it, put it down here. So, cause this is, the wood hasn't been sanded. So I didn't want to snag any stitches. So I stitched this with 1 thread over 2 linen strands. And then I stuffed it with polyfill polyester, and then the body I used my wood shavings, and then the bottom here I finished with polyfill and then hand stitched this closed. I should have followed Vonna Pfeiffer's advice about you, and also Helen D of East Coast Crafter. She's also mentioned this, putting yarn in the top here and so that you don't get any gaps here. So I had stuffed this with polyfill, but in the last month it's already slipped down. So I have a lot to learn. And then I mostly followed the finishing instructions for the carrots, but I decided to stuff them with polyfill as I went and then finish them so they're a little more fat and wonky, because carrots are not perfect. So I'm so excited with my finish here. And then if I'm planning on making some more of my tomatoes, like my tomato pin cushions, and then maybe I'll put one in there, and maybe I'll do like a punch needle radish or something, and like we can have like a whole vegetable stand with the display. So my note was very creative, consistent tension, and good job. And I got 2nd place. And this was in the category animals under 8 by 10 inches. So anything with an animal on it. It didn't have to be finished as an animal, but that's what I chose to do. All right. The next piece is Bent Creek. And I finished this in a thrift store frame, the scrapbook paper. And this is how I finished it. And I'm really happy with it. I got 2nd place, and it was in the cross stitch Christmas category, bigger than less than 8 by 10. I can never have alligator, bigger than or less than. Oh, stuff's falling out of my pocket. And the note I got from the judges is nice stitching, good tension. Some of the beads are not as secure as others, but nicely framed. So I got a nicely framed comment on this one. Yay! But yes, I looked more closely, and a couple of these, the tension on my bead was off. But then I remembered I did not put this on the nerge to add my beads. I was holding this in my hand. I didn't put it in an embroidery hoop to finish and do the bead work. So great. That was great feedback for me. So I can see firsthand that I have uneven tension if I stitch the bead work in hand versus putting it on a hoop like I did for my bear that I just finished. And I'm really happy I got second place there. And then the last two that I did was they have a category for designers, which I thought is pretty cool. So I entered 2 pieces that I designed for this year. This one was in the summer issue, in the summer issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine, and this is the finish of it. It is on an Ackfield frame. And then I finished this as the quilt. No making noises. Can you see that horses are my special interest? Apparently I'm like all into horses. Yeah. Hey, no, let's not make noises, please. So this is, you can find the chart and all the information of this on Just Cross Stitch magazine. I entered it into the original picture under 20 by 30 designer, like you had to have designed it yourself. And so this is what I entered. I love her. And I got first place. So yay, thank you. And then my last one, this one is in the box that Under the Sea Fabric just put out, the Christmas in July. It is stitched with the almond M&M's silks that were dyed by Ymir for the box, on fabric dyed by Leslie LaFleur for the box, featuring Riley Blake fabrics that were part of a collection. And then this is how I finished it. My husband said I finished it. It looks like a little travel suitcase. I'm like, yeah, I want to travel winter, go see some moose. Of course, you know, don't try to touch them or anything, but I'd love to see a moose in real life. My mom used to go moose hunting before I was born, in like -40 degrees, go out moose hunting. I'm like, really? People do that in real life? I don't want to hunt them. I just want to look at them. They look so pretty. So this, I stitched it with the 2 strands of almond M&Ms over 2 linen threads. And then it's finished with the little buttons are from Just Another Button Company. So this is available, this chart, if you're interested, it's exclusive to Under the Sea Fabrics for the next year, and you can get it from them. It's called Winter Moose. So this is in the designer category, original design that's not framed. And I got first place. So thank you so much. So yeah, these two, if you Just Cross Stitch, Annie's Publishing, and then Leslie LaFleur, Under the Sea Fabrics. She has a brick and mortar store. She's located in Chet, Texas, and she has an online shop. So you can check those 2 out. So yeah, those are my fair. Oh no, that's not. I have one more. I branched out and I decided to enter the recycled flower category in the home arts, which I've never entered home arts before. So my kids entered in the pottery and the wood and the Lego competition of the home arts. And I entered into the recycled materials, the flower exhibit. And so I am happy to report I got second place for my recycled flowers, and there were some really cool flowers. So I did a bunch of different flowers. I don't feel like I displayed them well though. I think my display could have been better, and that's something I can consider for next time. So I made this flower here, and most of these were all made with feed sacks, the horse feed sacks that I've been getting at the barn. I washed them. I've made project bags with them and flowers. This is all the feed sack, and then sewing them down. This center here is from 2 different like clementines, and then I think lemons. So there's a red and an orange, those netting. This is feed sack, and then there is cough and flu medicine. I think it's called Zarbee's, and they have the lid. It's like a bee look, and so I used the lid, and then I used the plastic from the strawberry containers that our county in Maryland does not recycle the strawberry containers. Even though it's a plastic that has the recyclable logo, our county does not recycle them. So I decided, instead of throwing it into the trash, I made petals for the first time ever. So that was neat. And then another flower I made is this one. This is one of the first ones that I made. It's got the feed sack. I did the ruffles, and then I used a chocolate bonbon backing, and then the feed sack bottom here. And then I made this one, and this has got the Zarbee's top as well. The feed sacks here, and this is also the feed sacks. I fussy cut the blue pieces out of one of the feed sacks, and I did all the flowers. I stitched most of the flowers down, and then did that ruffle. And then this one, this is my favorite flower that I made, and it's with the feed sacks. And I got the oranges out, and then I put the same as that other one, the netting, and it's the red and the orange netting. And then added all of that. So this one's my favorite. It reminds me of the tropical flower, all of a sudden, bird of paradise flower. That's kind of, but it was super fun to do that. So I got my creativity out this summer and worked on these projects. I entered in 3 different divisions. I picked up the information this year on the rug hooking category. They have punch rugs and like all different types of rug hooking. So if you're interested in the Maryland State Fair, I highly recommend you look into it. If you are in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Delaware, or Virginia, all of the neighboring states, you are also eligible to enter the fair. I met the president of the fair and went on a tour of the horse track and talked to her. It's actually the Maryland State Fair is a non-profit organization that puts everything on, and it's the only fair east of the Mississippi that features both amusement park riding attractions and horse racing at the same time. So we have a unique fair, and I encourage you to participate if you are thinking about it. You know, why not? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky said that. He was a famous ice hockey player. He said that a couple decades ago. I was young and impressionable, and I took that quote, and I have been living by that most of my life. You cut yourself short if you tell yourself no a lot. And it's okay to be scared sometimes and to go out of your comfort zone. Obviously, I'm not telling you to be anxiety induced and go and do this against your will. But if you have the desire to enter the fair, I highly suggest that you do it. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame, but you're part of a community, and your art matters. Your stitching matters. And what you bring to the world matters. And your, what you stitch, maybe you'll shine a little bit of beauty in somebody else's life. And isn't that all that we hope to do, is to be a light in the darkness and maybe uplift others through our work? If not, even if we uplift ourselves, but why not others too? And I'm getting emotional. So, hey, I love cross stitch, sending love to you. And I hope that you have a wonderful time with your stitching, whatever that might be. And I will be posting the fair tour soon. So take care and happy stitching.